Hey, so just an update. So we have an extension on paying costs for the Court of Appeal cases to stop the mass poisoning of our public land, which Jason McGrath, Deputy Registrar or Senior Court Advisor to the Court of Appeal, has decided is not a matter of public interest. We have an extension to pay until the 14th of December, and then I have to have the application in for the hearing till on the 21st of December. Then the judge has asked for a rewrite. I've put it in 10 pages. He's asked for a rewrite to 30 pages for the written submissions by the end of January, and he's scheduled a hearing or a conference in the court in February. So he's obviously, I'm very grateful, he's obviously very confident that I'm going to be able to publicly seduce people to pay for this legal case, which is great, by the 14th of December. So the thing is I just want to go back and say I've also I've applied informally, and now I've been asked to apply in a formal form, which I didn't have access to before, to have the judge overturn the decision of Jason McGrath, the Deputy Registrar, that this case of the mass poisoning of public land and the mass theft of mass poisoning of public water and air and the mass theft of public land is not a matter of public interest. I mean, clearly that's just overtly a violation of justice. And she's saying it's not an exceptional circumstance. Well, I don't know if she realises, but she too is breathing in the fluoromethane. I presume JC is a girl, maybe JC's a boy. Oh my God. Since we're heading into a gender-neutral age where New World Order is designing us to put chemicals in our water where our Y and X chromosomes disappear and we become one gender-neutral being with no sexual drive, then we can say maybe JC is gender-neutral. I'm not sure how far this has evolved in New Zealand with the amount of chemicals in our water. But okay. This is a freaking exceptional circumstance. We are suffering, an entire country is suffering a chemical extermination. And what I was going to say is, she too, or he too, or it too, or whatever the word is, or I'm being so un-PC right now, but the judges as well are breathing in fluoromethane. You know, that's what I wanted to say. So Ardern writes letters literally to 8-year-olds and writes letters and gives radio interviews saying, the 1080, the world's most lethal toxic poison, breaks down into harmless products, non-toxic products, which is a categorical lie. It defies all science. Every single scientific study evidences that it breaks down into the fluorocitrate molecule as one of the derogation products. Fluorocitrate molecule is a deadly molecule that you, as odourless, colourless, tasteless, you don't know you've consumed it through your water or food, but it starts to kill your cells and mutate your cells. That mutation leads to all sorts of cancers, especially reproductive cancers, which New Zealanders are suffering like an epidemic right now. So, and worst case, best case, sterility. They are deliberately inflicting the age of infertility. It's disgusting, you know. Okay, so what they don't talk about is the fact that not only have they not studied the bioaccumulation effects of sublethal doses every day over time in your food and water, that's sublethal doses, low doses, are bioaccumulating in your body to the point where it can't metabolize it out of the body. Even when metabolizing it out of the body, all the animal studies shows there's heart lesions, there's brain lesions, there's respiratory issues, there's ongoing health defects, but when they do when it reaches the point that it can't metabolize out of the body, it definitely starts super drug killing you in real time, and you don't know it's happened, and you think, oh, I've got a respiratory illness, oh, I've got Legionnaire's disease, oh, I've got cancer, oh, whoops, you know, no, you've been poisoned. Let's get this straight. They've just dumped enough poison to kill between 100 million and 300 million roughly across New Zealand this year. People, 100 million, 300 million people by direct dose. That is dispersing right through our ecosystem. It's spread by bees pollinating our food, eating the dead blood off the carcasses lying dead all strewn through our bush from tortured animals, which is abhorrent anyway. This is not an exceptional circumstance according to Jason McGrath at the Court of Appeal. No, sorry love, whatever you are. Wrong. It's wrong. It's an exceptional fucking circumstance that our country and our people are being poisoned to death in real time. Now, what I was going to say is we know that the fluorocitrate molecule is one of the derogation products, but also what they don't study, not only the bioaccumulation of that, but they have no studies on the fluoromethane molecule. Now, the fluorocitrate molecule mimics the citrate molecule to kill your cells and basically kill you by torture in real time, but with sublethal doses slowly over time. by the animals who eat a pellet, which News Hub encouraged a child to eat 3 pellets in print. Like, I mean, it's just encouraging children to their death. It's just absurd that they get away with that. But an animal eats a pellet, dies by torture over, 80, 90 hours, because we're completely insane in New Zealand. We like to mass torture animals over really prolonged periods of time. Oh my god. Anyway, no studies on the fluoromethane molecule. So the fluorocitrate molecule is literally the world's most deadly killer molecule. It's not used in most countries, although I do believe now New Zealand, the killer country, through the company Orillon, Orillon, shouldn't need to pronounce it because it shouldn't exist as a company, but we are exporting it all around the world now. I mean, we are ground zero death country. But anyway, okay, so the fluoromethane molecule, methane, that really dangerous gas. So 1080 derogates into a fluoromethane. So you can't test, you're not testing for 1080 anymore, you'd have to test for fluoromethane. Well, you know what, they're going to blame it on the cow farts, they're going to blame it on the car pollution. You can already see the narrative starting, like we're going to have no access to cars, no access to private mobility, and wait, and they're removing our access to cars and removing our access to cows because they want to reduce the cow number. Even the Attorney General in New Zealand, he helped develop the A2 milk model, whatever those cows are, and openly advocated the reduction of cow numbers before he went into Parliament. And they're blaming farts. Well, I'm sorry, they've just dumped enough chemical toxic poison all over our ecosystem that's turning into fluoromethane, which is like one of the world's most deadly gases, plus one of the world's most deadly poisons, mixed together to create like a super killer methane. That, by the way, the Deputy Registrar is breathing just at the same time as you. So, she doesn't think that's an exceptionally disturbing circumstance which requires a public waiver, an immediate hearing, and an immediate order to stop this fucking insanity in our country. Then I don't know what planet she's on, but it's certainly not planet Earth, and she certainly can't be human. Okay, the point is that it is an exceptional circumstance. It is an issue of public interest. And at the end of the day, they're also arguing, one of my main arguments in the Court of Appeal has to be that they're arguing that the court doesn't have the power to stop a chemical extermination program run by the government because it's a big program. So they can only make an adjustment on a narrow area of law, a narrow decision. They also try and argue that the decision in the budget, which renders Ardern criminally liable for this fucking mass extermination of our population. Excuse my swearing, but I just feel quite passionate about this issue. She made the decision. She is responsible as head of government, first among equals, to the budget decision to finance this mass extermination program. And so the fact that she made that decision to finance this program across all the variations of Eradicate Predators, which is you and me, by the way. We are the apex predator. Eradicate Predators 2050 means New Zealand is free of people 2050, and I'm not wrong. And anyone who lives anywhere near that date who doesn't get poisoned to death in the next 10 years or devastated by starvation, because they're rendering starvation in our country right now by poisoning all our food and attacking us with weather warfare, so that they're attacking terrible weather right across South and North Island right now, so that through the lambing and calving season, so the stock die. This is their way of depleting stock numbers. These people are pure evil, and they have access to the most complicated technologies in the world. They totally understand what they're doing. But so they're trying to, beyond all reason, this is what I don't get. Clearly it is a decision. The budget is a decision. Where to allocate money, what programs to empower with that money. That's a fucking decision. Oh my god, I've got to stop swearing. That's a decision, and that's Ardern's decision, and that renders her criminally liable. So they're trying to argue that, and the court is agreeing with them right now, that it is not a decision. The budget is not a decision. What programs to finance and empower are not a decision. Not firing Eugene Sage is not a decision. It is a decision. So she should fire, if she wasn't deliberately chemically exterminating us, she would fire Eugene Sage, just like she tosses off all her other ministers when they do misdemeanours. She has the ability to take out, under the State Services Commissioner Act, she has the ability to instruct Peter Hughes to take out Lou Sanson, the mass murdering psychopath. You know? So, at the end of the day, she has empowered it. She promotes the program. She lies about the program. May 28th, she gave a press conference about bogus M. bovis, which is 1080 poisoning. And she's telling everyone the food is safe to consume. No, it's not. It's poisoned. Let's get that straight. And food is safe to consume, and they have to start mass killing all these animals for this fake disease that doesn't exist. And everyone went, okay. I mean, our fake media went, okay. All our media need to be fired, seriously. But I mean, that's the other thing. I've got to say, I know I offend every single judge in the country all the time, but I've got to say, if our court is incapable of stopping the genocidal extermination of our population by chemicals, the collapse of our ecosystem, the deliberate infliction of the sixth extinction, the deliberate creation of climate change narrative in order to force structural reform, in order to force starvation, in order to demoralise, in order to privatise the health system, in order to privatise all our public land, in order to force the country to surrender sovereignty to the UN by 2030 as the good little obedient first UN state, and we get food trucks. We'll be like the next stage of the oil for food program in Iraq. That was like pure corruption, but it's going to happen in New Zealand because we're going to need imported food because they're poisoning everything. So once people realise that, it's going to be outraged, but we're going to be forced to eat poisoned food, so it's like your death warrant is signed. It's so funny to be in Paris right now. Oh gosh, there you go, I'm in Paris. And big secret out of the bag. But yesterday there was a mass protest on Champs-Élysées of young people protesting everything really, but it started off as a protest of the increase in fuel costs. And I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, what they're doing, this cabal who have all the leaders staged all around the main Western countries, and they just control opposition, you know, like I think the guy, Bolsonaro, I don't know how to say his name properly yet, but guy from Brazil, Trump, Merkel, May, Macron, Trudeau, Ardern, all the coalition forces that attacked Syria, the illegal, rotten governments who terrorised, bombed to death and destroyed the lives of millions of people across Iraq and Libya, and have destroyed the Middle East, grand theft country for Israel and a little bit for Saudi, I guess, but I think Saudi's like got to realise that one day it's actually all for Israel. But it's sort of a bit of a diversion, but the fact is that all of these countries are running a mass structural reform in order to achieve this new world order, one world government by 2030 under the UN. The UN's just a face for the private moguls who think that they are better than the normal people, that they are creating a supranational elite rule, basically, where everyone is controlled and has none of the rights. I mean, they think people are animals, they think people are disgusting, they think the human race is a plague, they think people in their homes living their lives are rotten, stinking pieces of shit who need to be depopulated and exterminated, and they're doing it in real time. And Ardern's fucking smiling us to our death. It's just unbelievable. Thank God I'm out of that country. Although I'm not sure France is any less poisoned. It's happening everywhere, the mass poisoning. You know, there's even documentaries on the poisoning, strength of the poisoning industry, but it's the depopulation industry. That's what it is. They are absolutely depopulating en masse right now. And the thing is that what I've caught in New Zealand after 7 years of doing international criminal court cases, or putting these cases to the court, having them accepted and trying to progress into some of this destruction, is it's the fact that it's hard to, I lost my train of thought there, but I thought of something else. Anyway, look, I could ramble on forever, but as I do, everyone tells me to stick to 3 minutes. They're freaking dreaming. Absolutely dreaming. Anyway, so here's my thing. 2 things. 1, I have to raise the court fees. Now, if I get another security cost order on the parallel case for 6,600, then I'm looking at a situation where I need 17,200 in fees paid. Plus there's a setting down fee on both cases, and I'm not sure how much that is yet. It's actually divided into 3 cases, so you know, and then I've got mass printing costs, I've got travel costs to get to Wellington to the Court of Appeal, etc, etc. So I'm looking at a minimum need of about $25,000 just to cover the fees and the basic costs, and also I'm looking for costs to cover my cost, marketing costs, because what this needs to become mainstream in New Zealand. You know, Facebook completely shut down my distribution. I used to get easily 30 to 50,000 in a video, and now I get like 800 or 1,000 or 2,000 if I'm lucky. And so, and it's not because it's not interesting what I'm talking about. It's very interesting that, you know, the fact that your children are drinking poison in their food and water, well, eating it in their food, obviously. It's very interesting. Okay, what I was going to say also, getting back on point, is that if the court cannot stop a genocidal extermination of a population, the International Criminal Court must take jurisdiction. Now, they have been reviewing this case since July 23rd. I went there last week on arrival in Europe to see if they'd made a decision. I was informed that they haven't made a decision yet, so that the case is ongoing. They're still reviewing it, so it's in process. Now, obviously, I've indicated, I believe in my case I've evidenced such aggression from the courts against my case, and amidst like literally suffering attacks on my life for the last 5 months. I mean, from neurotoxin poisonings to EMF through my phone, through my gadgets, through out of helicopters, and the most recent one was electric shocks coming to the fire alarm that made me flee the country. I mean, I'm sleeping in my bed, falling asleep, and there's electric shocks happening in my brain. And I realised by the 3rd night of like shutting down everything it could possibly be, it was the guy who had tested the fire alarm a couple of days earlier, that it must be coming through the fire alarm, which is also, I understand, connected to the phone line, which has surged me before, which stopped me using the phone. It got surged so clearly from while on a mobile phone call that through my headphones that I stopped using the phone in New Zealand. Like, I knew that was a danger to my life. So it's this hideous reality where they're using electromagnetic frequency weapons to try and shut down opposition to their deadly crime. What can you do? You've got no defence. You can't go to the police. When I arrived back in New Zealand, I was set up to live in a house and significantly harassed by a state-paid worker, which I believe was totally intentional, and to stop my campaign for Prime Minister, which I attempted to set up a couple of months prior to Ardern being promoted. And you know, I went to the police and there was just absolutely the opposite of help, no help at all. I tried to go through the courts to get justice, absolutely the opposite of justice. It was just, that was one of my first experiences with justice in New Zealand. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, all the laws that should protect you don't. And so I just have this consistent, and again I want to say I don't get it, because the judges and their families are all being poisoned by the fluoromethane that is just spread through our air now. We've had, I mean, all of it, thousands and tons of these poisons have been dropped, so that's all circulating and spreading right through our air that the judges and the registers breathe as well. I mean, you know, it's a pretty bold move to like be so openly advocating and defending and protecting the crime that's like a suicide. It's like a suicide. It's like their decisions are suicidal. I don't get it. Very noble, depopulating the world, knowing that they're committing their own suicide. I mean, maybe they can be careful about what water they drink, maybe they can be careful about what food they eat, but they don't have any choice about breathing that fluoromethane air. Really glad I'm out of the country and not dying by fluoromethane air right now, but I swear to God, the registrars and judges dying just as fast as everyone else. And it's lethal. Oh my God. Okay, so, but here's my point. If the court cannot stop a genocidal extermination, it should be disbanded, and the Admiralty law that is currently running instead of common law in our nation can be superseded by common law and a people's court of common law. And if the judges are not going to use their inherent jurisdiction, their universal jurisdiction, to apply the law of equity, which prevails, absolutely prevails over common law, regardless of us not really even running common law. So maybe it doesn't count if we're only running Admiralty law. But the point is that we're pretending we're running common law, so on that basis of, continuing that pretending, absolutely absolutely. This is an exceptional circumstance. This is a situation of where no rules apply, no form of procedure applies to the concept of a chemical extermination of an entire population, of Hitler reincarnated, open air exterminating everyone at once, all of nature, all of the animals, all of the people, killing us in real time. This is unbelievable. But it's happened because I was in court since May trying to stop it. When Ardern came back from maternity leave, she pushed it through because she's a genocidal maniac. So we have been chemically attacked in our country repeatedly. The attacks are still going on. I wrote to the International Criminal Court again last week, and it's like, what is the point of a statute that says prevention of genocide unless it's applied to prevent the genocide? The early warning signals, I gave those in May. The early warning signals prevented the crime. Did they prevent the crime? No, they were ignored by the justice. What is justice if it doesn't protect the life, health and property of the people? So if the court has no power under the current legal system to stop a genocidal extermination of our life, then it should be disbanded. It should be cancelled, and we should launch a genuine justice system where a common law group of people decide that the people who are chemically exterminating us belong in prison. Mass poisoning of our water, air and soil ends now, immediately, by order. Okay, I have to rewrite a 30-page summary, change my 10 pages into a 30-page argument by the end of January. Then we're in court for a conference in February. That's on the injunction. So there's two things. One is the injunction, where I argue that all of the poisoning should be stopped immediately because of the contamination of our water, air and soil that is killing people in real time, until the substantive case is decided. And that is just the very essence of justice, right? That's just, that's right, that's equity, that's the law of equity applied. Protect lives until the decision is made. Now the Court of Appeal argument has to focus on sorry, I got hair in my face. The Court of Appeal argument has to focus on the fact that I'm arguing the court absolutely has the power to stop a government program that is so fucking criminally insane. And the court's decision from the August 21st hearing I had in the High Court was that they don't have the power. The court doesn't have the power to stop a government program. Now, every single person with common sense, perhaps not a law degree, but with common sense, knows that that's absolutely unacceptable. None of us accept a justice system that won't protect our life, health and property. That's what we all assume it does. Now, if this evidence is that that's no longer the case, we cancel the justice system. That's what we do as a people. We make sure that the next election is set up to vote in a way that they can't rig it in their little nest in Christchurch, where they basically appoint power. That this mafia who are controlling our system, that I web from the Israeli psychopath Mossads to the royal family British Empire fucking psycho deep states to the Pope, Christian, fucking Bill Gates, Bezos, Branson, all the mainstream names, and all the bankers, probably all the child traffickers and the fucking drug dealers and they're probably all the same people. Clintons. All these crazy lunatics who have got in power because they own the media. So someone said to me in France this week, if this is all happening, why is there not media on it? It's like, they own the media, they own the narrative. I said, it's so funny because there's the 6 p.m. news and there's this whole, all the comments are like, ban 1080, stop 1080, you're poisoning our water, this is so fucked up, you bastards. Sorry, I'm just having a secret smile with someone. And, okay, maybe they don't say you bastards, maybe that's edited out, I'm not sure, but I would say that. But, and the newsreaders are just chat, ignoring it. God, it's so crazy. It's really like Nazi Germany, the Fourth Reich. And I tell you what, when you get electrocuted through the phone, through the fire alarm, through planes flying past, through frequency off your screens, we are in the age of the silent assassinations. It's terrifying. In order to survive now, I don't use my phone. Since I use my Microsoft Surface laptop once when I got here, twice when I got here, and it affected me really badly the first time, but the second time, literally my brain was like I had a bubble and electrocution going on in my brain. Ice packed it all day. I'm pretty used to the feeling now, so it's not the first time. And, won't use it again. Because there's something that they can turn on in it that does that to you. So how many people have they taken out by this already, And what exactly were they attempting to do with me in that country? Incapacitate me, incapacitate my brain. I mean, if I couldn't have sustained what they kept doing to me, I would have turned into a vegetable. I'm so glad I'm out of there. But unfortunately, frequency and their power to affect probably runs through fire alarm systems being implemented in all the Western countries. So be very careful if you're fighting the government what hotels you stay in and what fire alarm system they have. Because they are definitely, I reckon there's probably that fire alarm system probably links back to the Israeli Innovation Agreement, and the Israel probably have the ability to assassinate people in their sleep overnight at the press of a button. There's lots of stories these days of people young people dropping dead by a heart attack in the middle of the night, probably most often when their parents are having a fight with the government, and they die, and there's this new belief, there's this phenomenon of natural causes being something unexplainable, and it's not. This is EMF frequency, weather warfare, chemical warfare, global government, deep state assassinations. Okay, I was going to say, I didn't finish my story on being in France. So 2 things happened yesterday which I just wish I could switch the perspective of people in their mind. The first thing is that the protests against the increase in fuel, they are deliberately crashing the economies right now. Okay, in order to achieve global government, they must crash the economy in order to force you to the carbon credits system of currency, the global currency of carbon. They must crash the economy. I always say it. Watch that movie Time. I think just that guy Ryan Felipe, I think, is in it. And Amanda Seyfried, I don't know how to say her name, but watch that movie Time, because I swear to God, that's pretty close to reality of what they're building. So they have to crash the economies. In order to crash the economies, they are eliminating freedoms, like reducing single-use plastics. I swear to God, these evil monsters are dumping shitloads of plastics in the ocean so that they can then spread the narrative of the plastic, crazy plastic thing, because so much in our world has become possible due to plastics. Now, there's technology for biodegradable plastics. Do you think they're implementing that? No. They are getting rid of, you see psychopath Eugenie Sage announcing the end of single-use plastic. This is communism. It's the end of freedoms. Have you ever tried living without plastics? It's so freaking difficult. Your freedoms and your ability to consume and do things are so much reduced. They know that. It's deliberate. And the putting up fuel is to stop your mobility. They are also, one of my cases is to stop Megov selling off all the car parks. This is deliberate. They are selling off all the car parks, putting up fuel so you can't afford to use your cars, so that you change your lifestyle, adapt your lifestyle, because you literally can't afford to use private mobility anymore. It forces you onto public transport, forces an end to private mobility and cars. They're doing it deliberately. They're taking away all your freedoms. By 2030 they plan no cars. Very, very limited. So they were also protesting against, and it was kind of a violent looking protest. They were protesting against the really low wages. They're deliberately running an austerity economy. They're deliberately restricting the money supply so that you can't get paid enough, so you can't afford the cost of living, so that you have no ability to create and meaningfully contribute and become, the supply of money should match the potential for human capacity to create and meaningfully contribute. They deliberately squash that supply so that it's impossible to create and meaningfully contribute, so that you're just divested, demoralised and angry. That's how they get control. That's how they force you to global government. The rescue, the rescue of UN coming to save the day, and you give up your sovereignty and your sexuality and your gender, and you're turn into a transvestite. Oh God, seriously, how awful! But that's their plan. Okay. The second thing that happened was a big run against cancer, a big run celebrating, or to stop cancer. Well, hello. The mass poisoning of our food and water, deliberate, industrialised spreading of these poisons by aerial distribution, or there wasn't even an article with this dumb donkey duck dude was promoting 1080 is safe because the forests are quiet, so all the bird life's dead because the predators are eating them. All the bird life's dead because you've been poisoning the forest, you nutcase. But anyway, just honest speaking. He said that in Perth, in Australia, they're putting 1080 directly in the water. How many countries are they doing that in right now? Because, swear to God, people are getting cancer en masse, and it is not naturally occurring. It is from poison. I estimate that you could track the beginning of cancer to the beginning of poison in our food and water system. So this is government deliberately causing mass cancers and diseases in order to depopulate and force structural reform, demoralise and divest the country to force structural reform. So all these people are running going, oh, you know, we can't solve cancer. That's because there's no antidote to poison. You die. That's what happens. So, you know, there's no solving cancer but unless we stop the poisoning. So, you know, that's why the International Criminal Court should order that all the poisoning in New Zealand stops immediately. While, if the Court of Appeal won't give an immediate order to stop the poisoning of their own water and air and soil, and they cannot wholly avoid it, not when it's poisoning the water, when it's poisoning the air, they're going to breathe it just the same as you. They've got no defence against the fluoromethane molecule, so they might think they can be careful, as I said before, with the water and the food, what they consume to avoid the poisoning. But unless they're going to walk around with gas masks, they're definitely dying by fluoromethane contamination. It's brilliant. But no one told them that was one of the derogation products, which is completely not studied, but totally one of the products that 1080 turns into. And then they keep testing for 1080 after it transfers into all these other deadly killer molecules and, you know, in the food, water and air, and soil and air. And oh my God, they don't even tell you about the methane. It's just amazing. Okay, very long video. So I have till the 14th of December to raise the fees. Now, I only have a week actually if I have to receive the money and then transfer it into another account in New Zealand to get it paid. They haven't given me an electronic way of paying at the moment. I'll ask again because it's absurd that I can't pay electronically for the fees when I'm overseas. But okay, so I'm going to spread the Give a Little page again. I think there was about 1,000 on there last time I checked, but as I said, I need that immediately up to 10,600, although there's the setting down fee payable by the 21st of December, and I need that paid. I'm not sure the cost of that, but there'll be another hearing fee of a security cost fee of about 6,600. So realistically, I need about 25,000 straight away, and we'll go from there. But I mean, again, it's absurd that the traitors and criminals and treasonous bastards who are poisoning our country in real time, collapsing our ecosystem, torturing all of nature to death, and killing humans, babies, children, everything. So insane, criminally insane people. Ardern, Gough, Clark, Key, and all their little killer troops like Sage and Lou Sanson, etc., etc. These people belong in a mental institution. It's so evil what they're doing. It's so criminally insane, and they're all getting protected by your tax money. And I'm having to ask online for more money to have the right to challenge their death siege on our country. You know, these people are communists. They're working for globalists. And all of the bullshit that they say in the parliament is a theatre. They are running to a sophisticated divestment and demoralisation program to render global government by 2030. We are losing our country in real time. They're poisoning us in real time. The order by the Court of Appeal should be given immediately to stop this. If it was in any way, genuinely, anything to do with justice, acting consistently with justice, not acting to shield those who are criminally liable from this crime. You know, able and willing to prosecute and investigate and put these criminals in jail. But, you know, all the decisions otherwise suggest otherwise so far. So, you know, again, that's what pushes the ICC to take jurisdiction. But my question about justice and the absolute failure of all justice right across the world right now is if the crime is allowed to continue and people are dying in real time, which seems to be the situation with every crime across the world, then the prevention of these crimes are not being acted upon. The power of the law to prevent these crimes, which is absolute and essential, is not being utilised, and it must be utilised, which is why for years, since developing my environmental defence argument, which rests on the ability to prevent the genocides caused by environmental destruction, like your psycho government mass poisoning your water, air and soil, that must be There must be. I've proposed an international criminal court for sustainability for years, because an international criminal court for sustainability would allow a culture of a court which acted proactively to prevent these criminals, because they're running such sophisticated psychological subversion programs and propaganda. It's like Hitler and Goebbels on steroids, and so unless you can foresee it and connect the dots, and I can do that because I've worked across these crimes, building towards this and arguing the ICC Rome Statute for years. So, you know, I can connect the dots because I've lived this crime in a way for so many years. And unless you can, if you're just living in your little bubble and, you know, white picket fence and 2 kids and going to work and, you know, pleasing the boss and going home and having a drink and sport on the weekend, and if you've got your normal little life, you just can't conceive of this level of evil. Spiritual war, age-old spiritual war. I wrote a book once, never got published, but it's sitting somewhere in a rack, and it was about the fact that the world is a competition for, not a competition, but it's a battle for, a spiritual war for oneness, but oneness of hell on earth or oneness of heaven on earth, like oneness of pure evil and pain and literally hell, like where you're tortured to death every day, or heaven on earth where everyone is one in a sort of spiritual transcendency, like beauty and love and abundance. And that all comes down, that's very simple, it comes down to political policies that allow adequate money supply to be extended so that human potential can to create, manifest, contribute can be met, which is why I argue that we need to appoint a second body corporate for the Reserve Bank in order to finance our way out of this crash that we should own and admit, so that everyone in the world knows this crime is happening, and our food is contaminated, but we can remedy our water within approximately 6 to 12 months with the technology that exists, and we can, you know, within 7 years we can probably get rid of most of the poison. So the fact is we can remedy this, we just need to be able to finance our way through it and perfect the way to manage it. If we can lead the world on how to remedy this crime, then because it's in process all around the world, it's just New Zealand is the first, you know, the most advanced, especially with Ardern's new psychotic levels of poison that she's just dropped this year. But if those people go to jail, government is cleared out, parliament is cleared out, state sector is cleared out, and everyone who's been responsible for advancing this crime are cleared out of their positions of power. We take our country back, we can remedy it within the worst of the harm within 6 months to a year, the most of the harm within 7 years, and start to recover. We've all been genetically modified now by the world's most lethal poison because we've been consuming it in our food and water. That's unforgivable, but we can remedy a lot of this. We just need to own the crime and then teach the world how to fix it. And our farmers, if Ardern wasn't deliberately poisoning them into states of depression and divestment so that they all commit suicide and lose hope, our farmers are the smartest in the world. They have the ability to work out how to remedy this. We could transition to a pure organic system in New Zealand. We could be the premium food for the world supply within 7 years. You know, we can fix this. We just need an honest justice system. And if the New Zealand system won't act to immediately order the end to this crime, then the ICC absolutely should act to immediately order the prevention of this crime and the protection of the victims of this crime under Article 68. It's what is occurring right now is a gross failure of justice right across the world. There is no justice. Right now, it's each man for himself. Your children are being poisoned to death. Your country's being divested by chemical and weather warfare, and you're going to be assassinated by EMF frequency technology if you oppose it publicly. So you right now have a little bit of freedom to fight these people. The justice system should fight them for you, but we'll see. Okay. If you would like to go to court and pay my fees, the case numbers are 568 569, CA 568, CA 569, and I think CA 631. I need to check that. So there's 3 cases and a running parallel, which is all linked into the same crime. That'd be greatly appreciated. So would all future generations and all animals who are being tortured to death. By the way, this also includes a stop to the mass animal cults like the tar and things like that, because what they can't poison, they're shooting to death by sniper fire. they're insane. The people in our government are categorically insane. But you know, we need justice to become honest. Otherwise, it's each man for himself fight. And you know, my capacity is limited, but this crime has to end.